Hey guys, what is up? It's your boy Vajalarazzi here, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to trade fractals. Now, this will be part 6 of my Beginner's Guide to Cryptocurrency series. Fractals are one of my favorite parts of trading. It's one thing that helped me to analyze my patterns a little bit better, as well as just see a little bit more in depth into market cycles to help me to see the picture of where we're at in the story of the market. Now, fractals are really interesting because they come in all time frames, they really come in all shapes and sizes, and they help you to identify where we're at in the coming picture or where we're going in the market cycle structure. It's really interesting to be able to see the patterns inside of patterns and how they fractal exponentially larger and smaller. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking an in-depth analysis on how I trade fractals and how you can use them in your trading plan. So what is a fractal? A fractal is a curve or geometric figure, each part of which has the same statistical character as the whole. And what that means is originally when fractals came about, a lot of the times they were first analyzed by looking at shorelines as well as snowflakes. Now, here's an example of a snowflake. What are some similar patterns that we can see in this snowflake? Well, if we take the big outside one, this is just the big outside picture of a snowflake. If we come in here, we can see that there's lots of little different tiny snowflakes. So the pattern of the original big snowflake is fractaled exponentially smaller into these little tiny ones that we see here. Same with these circles. We have this big circle right here with the lines in it. We also see that same pattern fractaled exponentially smaller right here, right here, right here. It just fractals infinitely. Just look at this little octagonal shape. I don't think this is actually an octagon. We can see the same pattern is fractaled out all throughout here in all of these different shapes. So this is what an example of a fractal is. It's just a pattern that gets repeated exponentially smaller and exponentially bigger. In trading, you're going to be able to look in the market structure and find similar patterns that are going to be fractaled inside of the market structure as a whole. This is one of my favorite reasons why I like fractals. It's just because it's really interesting to see how the patterns get created inside of the market structure and how you can continue to trade them on all different time frames and just see them as a whole continuing to accumulate bigger and bigger or smaller and smaller. It's just something that's really interesting to me. What you will learn: number 1, what is a fractal? Number 2, how to spot fractals. And number 3, how to trade fractals. And here are some examples of some fractals that I mean. This is an example of stellar lumens. We had this rising wedge followed by a little double bottom, and then we got topped out. We retraced, and then we went into a left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder of an inverse head and shoulder pattern. And then up here we went into the same pattern except it reversed to a regular head and shoulder. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then we retrace. This pattern was also created shortly after this. After this head and shoulder pattern retraced down to here, it went into this littler market cycle that was the same exact market cycle as the previous one listed. We had this rising wedge, double bottom, top, double bottom, top, retrace, retrace, inverse head and shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then we went into the big head and shoulder pattern. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then we retrace. So this is just a quick example of what a fractal is, or an example of a fractal inside of the cryptocurrency market. So you can see that it's not going to be exactly identical. It's just a rough example or a pattern that you continue to see, whether it's on a smaller time frame or whether it's a bigger time frame. You're going to be able to see these patterns kind of fractal out exponentially. So I'm actually going to transition to my screen and we're going to get right into the lesson plan. Taking a look at the daily time frame, I'm going to go in here and analyze this fractal that I've been seeing play out inside of XRP's market. I've already gone through and labeled the chart, and I just wanted to go through and label all of the important parts or the patterns that I continue to see inside of the market structure. As you can see, we had this big rally, and then we got topped out at this high. This high retraced, and then we went into this little accumulation phase where we saw a lower high, retrace, lower high, and then we retrace further. Now, if we compare the two market structures, you're going to be able to see some very similar patterns being played out. After the rally, we got topped out. After the rally, we got topped out. Same in both markets. We retraced, and then we created lower highs in this same pattern. Retraced, lower high, retrace, lower high, and then we retrace again. Lower high, retrace, lower high, retrace again. You can see this same little pattern playing out in both market structures. You can see that this one differs a little bit in its symmetry, but overall it's the same recurring pattern. Now after we get the retrace, we retrace down to here, retrace, and then we go into this little accumulation phase right here. We go into this low, and then we make another lower high. Lower high, we get rejected off both of them, and then we retrace and consolidate, retrace and consolidate, and then we have a little secondary rally that gets rejected at resistance. And after we get rejected off of this high, we go into another bloody retrace. And then same here. Now I use this 100-week moving average just as an example, or to kind of show you where we're at in this structure. Now as you can see, once prices landed on this 100-week moving average in the previous market cycle, we consolidated for a minute and then we bled through it. We're also seeing a similar pattern play out with this newer market cycle inside of Ripple. We consolidated here on support of this 100-week, however, we weren't able to maintain it for long, and then we sold through. So this and this are very close to being the same exact fractal pattern. Notice how they are a little bit different, but for the most part they're the same recurring pattern. Now this is why I like to trade these fractals. I like to analyze these fractals because it shows us where we're at in the story or the picture. If these two look different, I wouldn't have came to the conclusion that we could be coming to the terminal end of this correction inside of XRP. The fact that these two look so similar, it looks to me like we're very close to the bottom of this correction inside of Ripple, and we're about to make another expansive market cycle just like this. And the only way that you can really tell is by how similar these two structures look. Now, something to note when it comes to trading these fractals is oftentimes they're only going to be seen on the Bitcoin pair. A lot of the times these Bitcoin pairs will kind of just create these expansive market cycles, and a lot of times they get bigger in size, but sometimes like Ripple, they stay relatively the same value and they just kind of dip and then pump, and then they're just more or less just pump and dump. So this is kind of what I found with the Bitcoin pairs, is you'll see these big expansive market cycle fractals, and then they'll just kind of continue to ride and they'll continue to pump and dump as Bitcoin goes through its cycles of volatility. No, they are similar, but they're not always going to be identical. More symmetrical, the fractal, the higher the probability of that fractal playing out in or accordance to your initial analysis. Now I'm going to transition to my screen and we're going to take a look at another fractal that I've been seeing playing out inside of the Bitcoin markets. Now this is an example of a chart that's been playing a very beautiful market cycle that I've been watching for quite some time. I've actually been accumulating here in this accumulation phase that we've been in because I've been perceiving that we're going to see a very big rally inside of the market. If we come here and analyze, we go through series of accumulation followed by big rallies on the upside. Accumulation, rally, accumulation, rally. And now we're going in for one more big accumulation phase before we go into another rally in this market cycle. Now, I've come through and actually drawn similar patterns that I've been seeing. After the rally, we get rejected from this high. Okay, accumulation, rally, we get rejected off this high. So I'm going to be comparing this market cycle structure to this one. Now, as you can see, the red indicates resistance. Note how these resistance areas are very similar in structure. We retrace, we hit this bottom, retrace, hit this bottom, and we get rejected at resistance. Low, rejected, low, rejected. Low, rejected, low, rejected. And then we fall, and then we fall, and then you see this little scoop pattern play out. This same little scoop is seen on both market structures. However, look how symmetrical they are to each other. You can tell that what is going to happen based off the previous pattern. You know that if you're watching this, that we were about to go into a strong sell-off, and then we go back into accumulation. And what happened? We sold off, and then we went into accumulation. So this is just an example of a fractal that's playing out. I wanted to show you guys this because the symmetry of this fractal is very, very close to the previous market cycle structures. And that is just because of the fact, as all of this new money gets put into crypto and the market cycle has time to mature, it exponentially gets bigger and just slowly grows. It grows and grows and grows on this linear trend. And as it grows, it just repeats the same little pattern. And then it goes through its market cycles, and then it just continues to go about exponentially increasing in size and value. These were the examples I had for you guys. I just wanted to give you guys a short little update and introduction to how I trade fractals and how to analyze fractals. For the most part, fractals are a very awesome part of trading. It shows you a different perspective inside of markets that you don't normally see. Instead of just chart patterns, you get to see these huge market cycles that exponentially increase in value, but they also create the same expansive patterns in each market cycle. It's one of my favorite parts to trading because it just shows you how expansive some of these patterns can get and how symmetrical these market cycles are in general. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you found this video helpful, always remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more updates in the future. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.